Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ilian and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we're going to have Alex. Alex is from Australia, but he lives in London, in the UK. So let's see what Alex has to say. Enjoy the interview. So, how are you, Alex?
Yeah, I'm very good. A little bit thrown. Just got a lot going on at the moment and this morning.
It's good to be busy, I believe.
Yes, I agree. Other people have told me I should be a little less busy, but it's fun to be busy.
Absolutely. So, tell me, where are you from?
Australia. I'm from Sydney, Australia. Currently based in London, though.
Oh, wow.
Moved about a year ago. Yeah.
And so, tell me why London? Why the change from Australia to London?
So I'm a performer. I'm like a comedian and such. Sydney's nice for a lot of reasons. I like to think of it as a nice city to retire in, if I ever had the chance, which I probably won't. But London has a lot more opportunities when you're a creative. It just feels a bit more creatively charged. People like to see stuff in London. Sydney's a little bit more apathetic.
And what do you do for work? Walk me through a little bit about your career as a comedian.
So I started doing stuff when I first went to university, University of Sydney. I started doing like sketch shows and stuff there, a little bit of stand-up. Was never really classically trained in drama or comedy or anything like that, but I just found a real love for being on the stage, making people laugh. So I started off just doing mostly university things, then eventually started doing my own shows at various fringe festivals around Australia. I now kind of do more stuff that is like alternative, referred to as like clowning. If you're familiar with the term clowning, I don't mean like red nose and white paint and stuff. It's more like a lot of physical comedy, a lot of discovery, trying to find the joke within a room with very little to go on. Is a good way to think about it.
I see. And what are you working right now? Are you working a play or in a?
At the moment I'm in the green room at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So I apologize for any background noise and stuff. So the Edinburgh Fringe Festival is one of I think the biggest arts festival in the world. I'm doing a show of my own at the moment called One Man, 12 Angry Men. Yeah. So I'm doing 25 performances across the entire month. So one show every day at 2:25 p.m. So in about like an hour and a half from when we finish chatting, I'll be jumping up on stage and performing. So that's why I've been saying I'm very busy. It's a real hectic place to be at. Every day I'm kind of doing various gigs, just trying to promote the show, going out, handing people flyers.
Amazing.
That's where I'm at the moment.
Thanks so much for taking the time on your busy schedule to. Thank you.
I was, I had to. It was so nice to get a message out of the blue from you saying, I'd be interested in having a chat, just learn about you and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So during the journey, I'm going to explore a little bit more about your career and also about your overall. Okay.
Yeah.
Alex, are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and share your point of views?
Absolutely, I am.
Amazing. Welcome to Ilian and the Magic Box. So, I've got him, my best friend, okay, full of random fun questions. I'm just going to play a song now just for us to relax a bit before the first question, okay?
Okay.
Let's do it. Okay, Alex, before we start, during the journey, if it comes up a question that you don't want to talk about, some reason you don't want to answer, always can change, okay? First question for you is, what keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? Wow, we're really starting with a hard-hitting question. I think I'm in a very difficult industry for just to be successful in. There's leaving a lot to chance. And it's quite rare when you're able to kind of climb the ladder, so to speak, and get to a point where you're like doing things and you're making money and you have like a claim. It's not as simple, I think, as some careers where progression is kind of very linear, and it makes sense. You can always see, kind of visualize what that next step would be. So yeah, I guess I spent a lot of time just musing on where I'm at, where I'm going, where I've been, and always trying to assess whether or not I am still making progress, if I am still learning and becoming a better creative.
And when did you have the idea to move to London? When you decide, when was you realized that London would be a good place for your career?
Well, as I was saying before, I just got the sense that Australia is very much a small town city as a country, and I think there is the classic tale of people who leave their small town and they go to the big city to kind of find their fame and fortune. And to me, London was the big city that I had to move to if I was going to get anywhere in my kind of career track. But as well as that, I just feel like London is a city that people do appreciate the arts a bit more. I always think about back during the pandemic in Sydney, this one quite conservative newspaper ran an article about the 10 most essential workers, because that was kind of in the zeitgeist at the time as to what an essential worker was who would continue working during the lockdowns. They had like nurses and doctors and, things like that. And then next to that graphic, they did the 10 most non-essential like occupations. And it was like a reader's poll, right? And the number one most non-essential worker was artists. I just always think about living in a country where obviously a generalized poll of one very specific subset of society just thought that the work I do is so non-essential. This is the most non-essential thing. And I was like, I don't want to be here. I got to go somewhere where this is appreciated.
You really are in London?
It's been a year. I've been here for a year. It's obviously very expensive. When I compare it to Sydney, though, it is all of the things that were good about Sydney are better in London. All the things that were bad about Sydney are worse in London. It's a city of two extremes. You kind of have to face those worse aspects to be able to, reap those better aspects.
Okay. Next question, Alex, let's do it. All right, next question for you is, what is the best gift have you ever received and why you consider that?
Oh, okay. This is nice. It's certainly a nicer thing to muse upon. The best gift. I once received a really nice wooden chess set from one of my aunts. She got it from, it was on one of her travels. She travels quite a bit, my aunt, and I can't quite remember where she got it from, but it was beautiful. It was like a little wooden box. You'd open it up and it was like a handcrafted chess set, all the little individual pieces. I love playing chess and I love wooden boxes. I don't know why. I just collect so many wooden boxes. Something's very appealing. Don't even know what to put in them. Most of these wooden boxes are empty, but I just like looking at those. So it was a nice combination of two aesthetics. And I carried around it with me quite a lot. And I think it's just always nice in general when you get a gift from someone that fits, because gift giving can be hard. It's not always easy and obvious what to get someone. And I think a good gift really represents when someone knows you. And so it's always very nice when someone gets it right.
And those gifts as well, they are genuine because people, when they know you, they know what to get.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You always remember. Next question. Let's do it. Right, before the next question, tell me a little bit about your play. 1 man, 12 men angry.
1 man, 12 angry men. Yeah. So
angry men, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. No, it borrows from 12 Angry Men, which is a play and film I do really enjoy, but it has nothing to do with that play or the film. So the concept of the show is I have 12 kind of comic characters, like comedic characters that I can perform as, but the audience uses their phones to scan and access a website, which they then use to vote which character they want to see. So
Oh,
it's a very interactive show, different every time. Because essentially every one of those 12 characters, I could do that for like 10, 20 minutes or so. So I have about 4 hours worth of content, but it just depends on the audience, what they want to see. And the show kind of evolves and changes uh, every single time.
which one is the most popular one so far?
Well, I've only done 3 shows this year. I did the show last year though as well. The most popular character last year, I have then adapted to involve more in the show this year. But when I describe this character, it's going to sound quite bizarre. I feel like without kind of a foothold in my mind, it sounds very odd outside of context. But the popular character is known as Spitty, whose concept is that he's a criminal. He's a criminal mastermind, master of disguise, with only one purpose in life, one goal, and that is to trick people into spitting into his mouth. Yeah, as I said, quite bizarre. It all kind of makes sense in context. When I created the character, I thought this is just a silly idea. I'll do it once or twice. It's not going to work. People won't like it. Every time I've done it, they have adored it. I don't know why. I cannot explain it, but people love that character. It has them in tears.
And when was that? Tell me about the idea. How did you put it all together to get to the final of the play?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of character comedy over the years. I just really enjoy coming up. It's just kind of how my mind works. A lot of people, when they're writing comedy, they come up with a joke and they figure out how to do it, in a stand-up set. They figure out how to tell it maybe as the story. They try to get it across maybe by writing, maybe a sketch. Maybe they, start writing a play, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of ways in the creative process where you can take the germ of an idea. And the way that I've always found is it works best when I take a germ of an idea and I kind of craft a character around it. And so just for years, I've been creating all these characters, and I thought it'd be nice if I could find a way to just put them all in a show together, but I had too many. So I also really like doing shows which involve the audience a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want them to feel like they have a part in crafting the story that's being told. And so it just made sense to push those 2 elements together and come up with a show that could be interactive in this way. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Next question is, what do you consider most romantic?
Oh, what do I consider? I think time. I think time is very is a general answer for that. Like time and I feel like I'm borrowing from the classic like love languages thing here, but like time and acts of service are very romantic. When somebody demonstrates to you that they want to give freely their time to you, that is a very romantic gesture. Like it's one thing to buy someone, a bouquet of flowers, a box of chocolates or something. It's another thing to be like, I've booked us a pot building. What do you call that when you make pots? A pot making session, for the 2 of us together tomorrow afternoon, spend time together. I think that's really nice. And it doesn't even have to be like a special event or something, just making the choice to be like, you are who I want to spend my time in is good. Yeah.
Okay. Ready for another one?
Yes.
Let's do
Keep
it.
them coming.
All right. Next question is, do you consider yourself to be a spiritual person, and how?
I don't think so, no. An interesting, like my partner is very spiritual. And I don't think I am, especially when I was never quite sure until I've met someone now who is quite spiritual, but I don't think I am too much. I think I'm much more cerebral. I'm very open to the ideas of spirituality. but I'm also very interested in psychology. I'm also very interested in, the scientific method. I think I would just say that I'm a very open person, but my spiritual self isn't necessarily a priority. I think that's how I'd put it.
Your partner is from Australia or from London?
London. She's half American, half British, which
Wow.
is great for visa terms for me. I mean, obviously, I love her a lot otherwise, but I'm like, oh wow, if I get the ring on that finger, I have access to a lot of countries I never thought I would.
Amazing. Next question. Hey, Alex from Australia. Next question is, what bores you?
What bores me?
Yeah.
I think I'll answer it like this. To me, boredom is often a worse response than merely hating something, because any emotion in response to something that drives something interesting. And I always think back to my grandmother would used to say to me, I'd be like in the back seat of a car and I would complain to her, I'm bored, can I have a book? Can I have something to write on? And she would always tell me, only boring people get bored. Which I
like
disagree
that.
with.
I like that, actually.
You like that?
I
I remember as a kid, I hated that. I was like, ridiculous. And maybe saying something like that to a 12-year-old child who's definitely overactive most hours of a day is unhelpful. But as I grow older, I think I agree with that. I try to have strong opinions on most things.
Interesting. I never thought this way, but in a way, it makes a bit of sense as well. In a way, it's like it's tricky, It's tricking you somehow. It's challenging you, the way she said, I think.
Yeah. And I think, I go to a lot of comedy shows, and in the times where the show may not be amazing and I feel myself start to drift, I feel myself start to get bored, I just use the opportunity to write in my head. I kind of daydream, start writing my show, coming up with ideas and things like that. So I think, if you are feeling bored, there's opportunity there.
When you say about when I get bored in a show, I thought you would say when I start to get bored in the show, I have the opportunity to check my phone. Tell me something so far in your career, back in Australia and now in London. What's the difference between the audience, the Australian audience, and let's say the British audience? Have you noticed any difference when you are acting, when you're doing your show?
I don't think so. I think I don't think I am necessarily the authority on this yet. I think there are some performers and comedians that have worked a lot more across both countries that probably be able to give a better answer as to the differences between the audiences. In general, just culturally, it feels like British audiences are more willing to put time and money towards newer performers. I think the biggest struggle as a new comic in Australia was always just getting audiences and getting people to believe that you will have, even if you don't have something today, we'll have something one day. Australian audiences are kind of like, no, we want the professional comedians. We're just going to go and see the big acts at the big comedy shows, and they don't think enough about how you need to support the small acts so that they can one day become those professional acts. Whereas I think there's more of a sense here in the UK of grassroots performers are what eventually leads to those big crowd selling shows.
I see. Next question. Let's do it. Alex, before the next one, tell me what's the best joy do you like the most of being a comedian, and the flip side, what do you find most challenging?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so cliched and a little bit corny, but when I'm on stage, it does feel like, and the show is going, it's such a euphoric feeling. You feel like you're flying, and when you say things and people laugh, I feel like there's no sense of ego to it, and that may not be the case for everyone who does this, but for me, genuinely, there is just such a joy in finding a way to just tickle someone's funny bone and get a reaction from them. Because laughter is so nice. Laughter is so nice. It makes people feel good. It's such a wonderful release. And so being able to be the person that can release that from someone, it's lovely. Yeah. It never gets old. It never gets old. And the flip side, you might think it would be when jokes don't work, but I think part of becoming a comedian is having to get comfortable with the flop, get comfortable with the bomb, and get comfortable with the times where you say things and people don't laugh. I always like to say, if you tell a joke to someone and they don't laugh, that is actually the funniest thing that could possibly happen, because that is the most unexpected thing, is them to not laugh.
Yeah.
So when I tell a joke, someone doesn't laugh, that's when I laugh. Because I find it funny that I failed. It's funny to fail.
Of course, of course.
So I guess the only thing that I don't like as a performer is the kind of production side of it, the promotion side of it. I really struggle still with finding the way to promote myself, finding the way to kind of compete with all of the money that's out there that goes towards the more established acts. Like a big part of going to a fringe festival is sending out media releases, connecting with the media, connecting with reviewers, trying to convince people to place their time on a small scale show. And, you know, you can have an interesting premise, you can be really charismatic, you can have a really good media release, but at the end of the day, you are still competing with people that have teams of people who are doing this and who have those connections naturally and have the kind of money and finances. And they may not be making money either out of their shows and stuff, because they have much higher costs themselves with this whole team, with a larger venue. But it just makes it a lot harder. And I think that can get you down sometimes. Like, I think both times that I've been to the Edinburgh Fringe, the first day, I've just spent a lot of time looking around at all the large posters, looking around at these huge venues and feeling like such a small fish in such a big pond. It's but that eventually wears off as you kind of get into the feel of things. But yeah, it hits you hard at first.
Tell me something. I back in Brazil once, I was watching an interview and there was this comedian, and this comedian said, not every actor can be a comedian, but every comedian can be an actor. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's comedy is very difficult. Obviously acting is hard as well, but comedy, you need to be able to tune in with the audience. You need to know what they find funny, when they find it funny, and what to do if they don't find it funny, you know. And I think those kind of skills work very well when and if you then transition into acting. But you know, it's tricky, because with acting, you know, you have stage acting, which requires you to be you've got kind of a live audience. With screen acting, a little bit different. You're just kind of working with, you know, a film crew. It's a lot more of a cold clinical process. And I mean, like I said, I haven't had any like official training in acting, but I know a lot of people who have. And I know a lot of people who studied acting and then have moved into comedy, and they realized how acting, it's a much more, the way they teach it, I guess it's a much more narcissistic pedagogy. It's very image focused. It's very like encouraging you to you know, they're trying to construct you into learning how to make yourself into a star, you know. And I think that comedy has a bit more humility to it. So I think actors spend a lot of time figuring out how do we craft that perfect image of ourselves. And if they then transition into comedy, a huge part of comedy, as I said before, is about learning how to fail. Like, can you imagine a huge actor like Brad Pitt having to accept that he could go up in front of people and that they wouldn't like him? You know, that's I mean, I don't know what Brad Pitt's like, but you understand the image I'm conjuring. Whereas I think it's easier for a comedian who has learned that humility and stuff to then transition into acting and not be so concerned about the imagery of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, 3 questions left for you. Let's do it.
Great.
Right, next question is, what is something you have done, what is something you always want to do but scared of?
Ooh, something I've always wanted to do but I'm scared of. I think I would really, I mean, just a simple answer for this. I'd love to go scuba diving. That seems cool, but the ocean is terrifying. Even from a young age, just the idea that there's all these creepy crawlies down there. But I feel like I just need to see it. If I get down there and I actually see it with my own eyes, I'll realize it's not nearly as intimidating. I think just in general, I have a lot of anxiety over things. I overthink a lot. But I always find when I get in there, when I do it, oh, it's so much nicer. Once you get used to it, it's easier to do it again and again. And I do love nature, and I try and go out, and I love bushwalking, love, hiking and all that stuff. Love to be on the water. But yeah, I've not spent enough time in it.
All right, 2 questions left. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Before the next one, tell me so far, since you've been living in England, what do you think, the biggest difference between, like, let's say Sydney, London, about people? What's the biggest misconception that people has from Australian that you go like, okay, that's the biggest one? And what's something that they get right when they go like, okay, Australia or Sydney, what's something, since your experience of being away, that you go like, okay, they are totally right about Australia, about Australians?
I think the most unfortunate answer about that is that most people don't realize how racist Australia is. Most people don't realize how what's the right term? Just how conservative the base is in Australia, because in a way, it is a very easy country to live in, right? It has a lot of really nice social programs, a lot of funding going to the right places. Like when you compare the Australian, for example, Medicare system to a lot of the other like medical systems in the world, it runs so much better. It runs really nicely. Like, I think it's here in London, it was very surprising to me the first time when I tried to book a GP appointment, and I was told that to book a GP appointment, you had to call them up between like the hours of like 8 and 9 in the morning and hope that they have an appointment. And if they don't, then you don't get an appointment that day. I was like, what? What if I'm really sick? Like, what? Whereas in Australia, you just rock up to a GP and pretty much can be seen within an hour or so, or you just call up and make an appointment that day. I think a lot of that is, structural stuff, but also just the population size in Australia is much, much smaller. So yeah, Australia has all of that nice stuff going on, but the base is really conservative, and all the it's a little bit more insidious as well. Mm-hmm. You don't entirely realize the kind of underlying bigotry of a lot of the Australian population until you start looking into the kind of politics of most of the people there. We're still incredibly behind on climate change. We're incredibly behind on like our Indigenous affairs. Very few people really take the time to think about like the quite awful history of Australia and the initial kind of like, I don't want to use the word settling, but when Europe originally came over and essentially like more than decimated the original population. And finally, very few people know about the immigration stuff as well. Like Australia has an incredibly poor track record with like immigration. It's quite a sad answer to the question, but I think it's always surprising to hear how few people in the UK are aware of some of that stuff that's going on down there. In terms of what they might get right about Australia, even while all that's going on, Australians generally are quite laid back and friendly. Mm-hmm. Like there is there is a genuine difference between meeting just a stranger in the UK and meeting a stranger in Australia. Like, people are generally more welcoming to begin with. As I said, that other stuff is usually a bit more insidious. But if you're in the kind of right circles, people are very welcoming and kind in Australia.
All right. Right. Next question for you is, if you could have a cup of tea with a fictional character, who that would be and why?
A cup of tea with a fictional character. Okay. I've always known who I'd want to that was real life. So now I need to think fictional character. There's a British character, quite well known over here, called Rumpole, who's like this lawyer. And I used to read these books when I was a kid. They're not really kids' books. It's just that my parents really liked them. My grandparents did as well. He's just like a bit of a cantankerous old lawyer, but he also has like simple pleasures. And I feel like he would be such an interesting character to sit down, have a cup of tea with, hear about his various legal adventures. I've quite a fascination with the law. I did study law for a few years before dropping out to pursue comedy. It would be both interesting to hear about his adventures, but he's also a very funny character. And the person that wrote the character, John Mortimer, he was a trained lawyer that also became like a screenwriter and an author and things like that. And I find it very fascinating, people that study the law and then went into creative arts, because there's a lot of crossover between those two. There's a lot of kind of social awareness that occurs between those two, and I think they can really help each other.
Interesting saying that. Do you know this very famous comedian? She was a lawyer, but she went to Hollywood. She's been a lot of movies. I forgot her name right now. I like her a lot. She's been Bridesmaids. I forgot her name, but anyway, she's Australian and she's a lawyer.
Oh yes. I know who you're referring to. Rebel Wilson. Yeah.
Yes, Rebel Wilson. Yes, I remember now. She's very funny. I love her a lot.
Yeah.
Ready for the last one?
Yes, absolutely. Hit it.
Question. Before the last question, tell me, so far in your career, what's the very best audience you ever had that you go like, you know what, that performance, that audience, I will always remember. And the one that you go like, you know what, that one, I want to forget it. I don't want, it didn't go right.
Yeah. I think it's hard. I've had a lot of audiences that felt like that, like good. Like I never want to forget this. I think because I do a show that's so interactive, it's like the stuff that I get from people, it's so fascinating. Like you put a microphone in someone's face. I mean, you would know this. It's basically what you do with this interview series. You put a microphone to someone's face, you will learn the most incredible things. People say such incredible things. Like, there are so many characters out there. You almost don't need to write comedy. You know, you just need to ask people the right questions. No, you know what? I can't think of a specific one. I'll say that it felt really good. I wrote a musical once back in Australia, and it got a good amount of buzz. And we got to perform it twice in front of like audience of 500 plus people. And there is few better feelings in the world. Like, I wasn't performing in it, I had just written it and directed it. But there are few better feelings in the world than hearing someone on a stage say the lines that you wrote and then hearing an audience of 500 people laugh at that. Like, just take that, stick it right in my veins. I'm good. Yeah. Sorry. In terms of audiences that I never want to remember again, literally not yesterday, but the day before, I had an audience of 6 people. They were completely not on my side. They were, it was rough. There were 2 people that I think did not realize what my show was, and were quite disappointed when they realized what it was. There were 2 other people that I didn't think spoke English very well, and every time I kind of tried to talk to them, they were not interested in talking to me. And then there were 2 younger people that I think if they were in a different audience would have been having a better time, but they were still very quiet as well. Like I said, I talk to the audience a lot in my shows, and I would ask a question to them and I would just get absolute silence. It was one of the toughest shows I've had to do. I was begging for it to be over. I was begging. I was almost like, please just walk out. Just walk out. Just leave. I I don't want to do this anymore. Uh,
It
but that's the
happened.
life of a performer. Yeah, you go from that, and then the next extreme, you get an like a full audience the next day, and they all love you. Like it's, yeah,
It's the universe like work on you to make to see the
yeah,
balance.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Last
yeah.
question for you is: what is your favorite weekend activity?
Favorite weekend activity? Um, I would say you know what? I love to cook. I love to cook. Cooking, I think, especially when you're trying to make what many people see as a hobby into a career, doing comedy and stuff, you got to have other hobbies as well that you feel like you can just, that are like completely separate from like performing and stuff. And for me, cooking is that. So for a weekend, if I can go away with my partner to somewhere, not too far away, just a little place, somewhere nearby that we haven't explored before. There's so many lovely places in the English countryside, so many lovely places in the Australian countryside. So just go somewhere like that. We relax, we hang out, maybe see somewhere nearby, go for a bit of a walk, and then we just cook together for hours. You know, we open up a recipe, we try to make something we've never done before. Hand make pasta. We try to make some dumpling. Like really really go all out, dedicate a few hours to it, and then enjoy a delicious meal, glass of wine. Oh, beautiful. Have a bath. There we go. Gorgeous weekend.
Amazing. I feel hungry now
Yeah.
after that. Right, so the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. Okay, I'm going to give away some words. Just one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking, okay?
Yep. Okay.
So, I hope you are enjoying the interview. Before we do the word association game, don't forget to give a like, don't forget to share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Just click on the button right there. Thank you so much and enjoy the word association game.
Okay.
Let's start with money.
Fame.
Family.
Love.
One word for life.
Adventure.
Sex.
So you say,
Sex.
horny.
Ooh. Love.
Affection.
Politics.
Division.
Religion.
God.
Fear.
Panic.
Friendship.
I kind of got an image of holding hands.
Okay. Desire.
Heart.
Regret.
Sadness.
Success.
Fortune.
Wish.
Genie.
Happiness.
Contentment.
One word for Sydney.
Boring.
I was expecting that. One word for Australia.
Wide.
One word for London.
Busy.
One word for comedian.
Joy.
And the last one now, I'm going to get it right now. One man, 12 angry men. One word.
Innovative.
Amazing. Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your lovely partner for a coffee, and I'm going to ask her, define Alex in one positive word and one negative word only. What she would say?
I think she would say that I am creative. That would be her positive word. Her negative word might be overstressed.
Ooh. Yeah. Okay, listen to her. She knows what she's talking about, okay?
Yeah, I know.
Let's play now Alex and the Magic Box, and you can ask me a question. Okay, Alex, you can ask me a question now.
Okay, here's what I'd love to know. How do you envision, like, the perfect way for you to be in, let's say in retirement? Like, imagine you're at the end of your life. Where do you envision? What would be the perfect way for you to kind of like spend your last few years? I hope this doesn't sound like a dark question. I'm interested in hearing this stuff. Yeah.
No, I love the question. Actually, when you're formulating the question, I could picture myself sitting down in a place where I could see a lake, where I could see a lot of nature around me, and having a time to reflect about everything that went through my life, and be able also to be in a place where I could host friends to come over to spend some time with me. At the same time as well, I'd love to be, not, for example, I'm thinking about Switzerland, a place where I could be there. At the same time as well, I could come to London for the weekend or see something, see a play, see a comedy show, see something that still be connected with, you know, the vibe of a big city, but come back to my quiet place and have the best quality life I can. So that's how I see myself, you know, at the moment, like retiring this way. Slow down, as you know very well, the life we have is just on the go.
Yeah.
Like give myself the, let's say, the chance of, okay, now I can relax, you know, I can relax, right? But at the same time as well, be able to get my private jet and go to London.
Yes, yeah. Of course, yeah. I think private jet is a good answer for almost any retirement plan. Yeah.
Did you have a good time, Alex?
Yeah, this is lovely. This is lovely. I love what you're doing. I apologize if things are a bit like hectic in my background or anything. Yeah.
I'm glad that you did the place where you are right now, because it's you know what I mean? It's a place where you spend a lot of time. Why not? It's the best place to be yourself and be comfortable as well. But very briefly, before you go, if you just can say a positive message or anything that you live by.
I think the thing that I love about doing comedy and performing is it feels like taking everyone back to a simpler time where we are kids let loose in a playground, you know?
Wow.
And I think that's an important thing when you go through life. Take the time when you're meeting new people to remember how easy and simple it was when you were just running into another kid at the playground.
Wow, amazing. Amazing. Thanks so much, and keep in touch, okay? And it was a pleasure connecting with you. Take care.
All right.
Enjoy
thank
the
you
show.
So much. Yes, thank you. Bye.
So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, to share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why would you like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye, see you next time.